Alright guys, so my first like YouTube actual video here, I guess you could call it. But yeah, just taking a look here today. It's a 2010 Acura RL. Anyway, super uncommon vehicle, whether you're in the US or out in Russia, or whether you're out here in, you know, friggin' southern Nova Scotia, where we're at right here. These cars, stupid uncommon. Only made about 300 or 400 of them for Canadian market. Just very uncommon. And you've probably never even saw one on the road traveling anywhere before. So yeah, let's take a quick look at some of the features of this interesting rig. Sure is one of a kind. Before I get into like some basic features on the car, you're probably wondering, what is an Acura RL? Why have I never heard of one? And what even does RL stand for? So Acura RL is a refined luxury sedan. It was the flagship sedan for Honda and Acura in 2010. Anyway, it was basically the type of car, like say if like a TL wasn't big enough for you and you didn't want to go with like a great big MDX, you wanted something in the middle for about like mid 50 grand. Heck yeah, this car is definitely on the do list. But yeah, like that being said, like great vehicles. Acura's super handling all-wheel drive system, so it's going to be reliable, it's going to be great. Has a 3.7 liter V6 engine in it, which is a little bit unique to the RL. They have a J37A2 engine. Acura TL sports a J37A4, and the MDX, I believe, is sporting the J37A1. Not 100% sure the A1, but I believe that is the engine code for the MDX. But yeah, this was basically like if you needed a large car that, you know, could suit some rear passengers more comfortably than TL or a TSX or something like that, yeah, you were definitely the type of person that would look at buying one of these. I'm going to start with some pretty standard features on the RL. But pretty similar to a TSX or more or less any Acura from 09 to 14. Keyless access, pretty common. Hand here to lock, on the door handle to unlock, relock again. Pretty standard feature. Definitely one of those vehicles that, you know, you wanted something more comfortable than a TL. I had a 2010 Acura TL here a little while ago. Anyway, great car nonetheless. Disappointing interior, like the quality interior was pretty disappointing on the TL. I had a 2010 MDX that was a little bit better, like the interior feel on those, but just nothing. Like there's no Honda and Acura out there that compares to the RL. Inside, it is a class of its own. If you drive all those different vehicles, like you can't even compare something like this to, you know, even a Honda Pilot or Honda Odyssey or something like that. It was one of those vehicles that just, as time went on, they aged very well. Like, I love the styling of this car. I feel that it's not dated at all, even being 14 years old. At this current point, this vehicle's aged extremely well. One of my favorite features, just even, you know, just looking at the outside of this car, I absolutely love that it has the Brembo brakes in the front. You get massive brakes from the factory, help stopping, you know, 100 pounds. They're not a light car by any means, right? But yeah, Brembo brake package is standard on every RL from 2005 till 2013 is when they stopped producing this body style and switched to the RLX. But anyway, super awesome handling car, super awesome braking car. Nothing bad to say about power and handling, that's for sure. Just give a walkthrough on the interior compartments of the RL. Don't mind me, just have finished fixing this car over the last month, so we have an engine bay plastic in there, some spray wax and oil from the oil change on it. Pretty large trunk overall. I'm going to be using this vehicle for mobile detailing here start of next spring, and there's plenty of room in the trunk. You do have a little ski pass if you got hockey sticks, golf clubs, or skis, whatever you really want to run in there. This is just for your navigation right up here. The DVD, I didn't even know you could play a DVD on this. Very nice. Who's to say if that DVD player works? I don't know, but we'll have to find out another time, I guess. Yeah, so we'll start with the rear seats. Don't mind me, typically it is spotless, but we are in the middle of southern Nova Scotian winter and it is salty and nasty outside, but there's nobody that actually has a video on these cars that show all the details that go into this interior. Typical RL. Got the flipping headrests. Got the center armrest. If anyone gives you a complaint about sitting back here, they're too picky for their own selves. But very, very comfortable car in the back. I'm going on like 6'3". I can fit in this car, no problem. Like, I'm a tall, fucking lanky guy. And I tell you, I go in this car, no problem. I've never had anyone in the back of this car that have ever said, oh, there's no room back here. Like, they gave you a nice little cutout for your head in the back here. I remember my TL having something similar to that, but just the comfort, leg comfort was, you know, not even comparable to what this RL is here. Have the heated rear seats. TL does not have that. You'll find that in MDX. But yeah, you have the heated seats, vents for your rear passengers. And we'll take a look. Oh, sunshades. Can't forget about those. That's pretty much it for the rear section of the interior of the car. Now we're going to take a look at the main driver's area of the interior. This is where all the magic happens in the cockpit of the RL. Get in and take a look here. So when you get into the RL, you are greeted with a pretty nice tan and wood trim finish. This right here, I do like that, to be honest. I think that's got a classy looking design. Kind of a shot at Mercedes-Benz, the way these door panels feel here. The RL, it's running the 2-tier glove box, which is pretty cool. Big fan of that. If you got anything you gotta keep up there or whatnot, special documents or whatnot. Pretty substandard Acura radio face. Can be a nightmare if you're not familiar with these systems and you first get in one of these cars to go drive it down the road. You'd be like, what is going on? There's a lot going on here, but once you get used to it for a few days, it's not too bad. But yeah, little storage area here. One quirk that I don't think is really mentioned in any of the other videos. It might just be the way my ashtray or whatever you want to call this is, but you can actually set it to your kind of preferred clearance. If you had like something else in there you didn't want to jump around a long road trip, that's an option. Cup holders are stupidly over designed in this car. You have a little top piece here that let's see if we can figure this out. Actually, it's been a little bit since I used this. Yes, there we go. Take a look, better look at these cup holders here. So have this little removable tab. Pull up, releases that down. So say you have room now for larger drinks. Say if that's not big enough, your center there, and you have deeper. You can get like a massive Stanley cup in there or a Yeti cup in there, anything like that. It's gonna fit in there nicely. Right here, basic storage area. This area stays cool in the summer, so if you have cans of pop or something like that, super nice to store in there. Aren't gonna be super warm on a long road trip. Little storage area back here for pens or something like that, a little notebook or something along those lines. But yeah, overall, just a very well-built, comfortable cabin. Like, there's, you know, I've had every other Acura that kind of compares with this for 09 to 14. Drove multiple different TSXs. Just Acura from 09 to 14, like, you really, you know, sure, you did pay a little bit extra money for one of these cars, but the interior is just so comfortable. Like, there's nothing, I don't think, quite as plush as a Acura RL. So yeah, I've covered more or less all, like, the interior features. I think the only thing I didn't cover on this car was just the power sunshade that is on top of the roof here. You press that, have a nice sunshade that comes over the back window, and you have the sunshades over the rear windows as well. Say if you do want to back up, you're not a big fan of those headrests, something else I'm going to cover. Hit the button, headrests flip down, hit the button here, or go in reverse, your sunshade drops down. So that is a pretty cool, quirky feature of the interior of the RL. Only other thing to really go over would just be the navigation system, which I'll get into next here. So let's take a look at the navigation system. So definitely, you know, in some people's mind, a little bit dated. I prefer this navigation system, honestly, way more than the newer Honda products. Big fan of this old style. Generally like it because I've gotten used to it for so many years now and it's so many of these cars. But I really like the navigation system. Like, everything on it makes sense. It's not the worst thing to figure out. Take an evening, sit down, and kind of learn how everything works with it. But yeah, like, everything that you'd more or less need is on this car. You could call up the steering wheel, you could voice command. Everything in the car is voice command. So audio is all voice command. Climate is voice command. What you want your navigation system to do is voice command. So for its time, it did have a lot of technology in it. Pretty standard features by today's measure, but for 2010, it was honestly something pretty cool. Climate, everything. Oh, have to be running the vehicle to use that, demonstrate that, but you know, Bluetooth audio, which is pretty standard in these cars for the time. Menu, just kind of basic stuff like this, but pretty standard Acura navigation system if you're familiar with this. The one thing that I can't stand about these cars, having an MDX and a TL, you could set the wallpaper on the TL and you could set a wallpaper on the MDX. On an RL, surprisingly, for how much more it was compared to a TL, you cannot set wallpaper. I don't know if that's just something that they didn't offer for an RL, but yeah, very, very, very strange that you have a wallpaper option on a TL and an MDX, but not an RL where it was the flagship sedan. The only thing I've noticed so far that I've been okay, that doesn't really make sense. Just gonna take a quick look at the engine under the hood of the RL. Like I said, have that engine plastic in the trunk there, just because I was diagnosing a power steering issue when I first had purchased this car. That being said, this engine is absolutely awesome. 3.7s are kind of known as the oil consumption engine for the J series. Honestly, you know, they do have their piston ring issues, and you know, you can end up burning a little bit of oil down the road. That being said, I've never had any oil burning. This car has 145,000 kilometers on it, Canadian, so doesn't have a whole lot of driving under the hood here, but haven't had any oil consumption issues so far. I've had a high kilometer MDX with mid 300s and a TL with low or late hundreds and early 200 kilometers. Never had any oil burning issues or anything like that. I think a lot of times that oil burning is just related to people neglecting the air filters to ever living hell in these cars. Anyway, eventually, right, you know, neglection starts to get expensive a little bit for some people. So yeah, that's enough blabbering about the exterior and interior features, let's get into driving this car. So I love these cars, love getting into it. It's one of those cars that if you have 2 feet of snow on the ground, you say, wow, we're gonna have a good time. Not worried to driving anything with one of these. All-wheel drive system is great in this car. It's never let me down. I have pushed it sideways a few times there just to kind of see where its limits lie, and honestly, it has not disappointed me. Rear end straightened me right out, and I've been set back on my path. But yeah, just getting to the start of this car here. Pretty standard cluster. The RL cluster is a little bit unique. It kind of reminds me of a MDX a bit. But yeah, here sitting at 145,000 kilometers, I believe, or 144. Running around there. That's another thing I should mention about these cars. Like, they are heavy on fuel. Don't buy an RL if you're looking for the fuel mileage of a Honda Civic, because you'll be very disappointed at 12.9 per 100. It's not terrible, but let's be honest, at that point, you should almost be driving a truck, kinda. Alright, so I've more or less gone over all the main features of the RL. I think I've covered everything that more or less anyone would ever care about watching this video. Just want to do a quick drive here, just to kind of let people know like my honest thoughts on the car. I've owned it now for going on probably 2.5, 3 months. I typically will kind of know at the end of a month or two if I like it or if I don't like it. This vehicle, honest to God, been nothing but impressed with it. You know, that being said, like, they're not terrible cars to own at this age if you find one that's in decent shape. Some things I would definitely keep in mind mechanically with these vehicles. Like I said, 3.7 family for the Honda Acura 3.7 J series engine is known for oil consumption. That's problem one I could list with these cars, but I haven't had that issue. So I guess I'll just go into what I've replaced with this car. So currently, you probably hear that light. That is for the VSA. When this car was a little bit younger in its life, it did have a animal incident on the right side. I believe there's a ABS wheel speed sensor going on there. Something related to that issue probably causing this. That being said, doesn't really affect the performance of the car, but that's really the only thing driving me nuts right now currently. But yeah, this car put new brakes on it all around, new pads and rotors. Other than that, routine maintenance, like, you know, look after your transmission fluid in these cars. Only put OEM transmission fluid in. Don't cheap out and go to your local auto store and be like, I want cheap fluid for my Acura RL. Like, if you can't put the right fluid in these cars, you shouldn't own these cars. But yeah, let's get into like some just normal driving with these cars. So just in sport mode right now. We got the paddle shifters, which is nice. Got the 5-speed automatic transmission. I'm someone, most of the vehicles I've owned over the years have been 6-speed V6J series, love them. But unfortunately, they're just becoming so hard to find in Nova Scotia that I've come down to an RL was pretty much my best choice, best vehicle I could find at the time. But yeah, like, I love the way this car drives, love the way the car handles. Like, my only complaint with Acura when they still had the 5-speed automatic would just be mainly it needed the 6th gear. Like, honestly, I don't think Acura, until, the TLXs came out, even had like a proper feeling transmission. But like, I don't know, I like the way the car shifts and that sort of stuff, but from time to time on the highway, you do notice that 4th gear is a little longer than it should be. Like, it'd almost be nice to have another gear that it could drop down ever so slightly sometimes on an on-ramp or something like that. But still, nonetheless, very well-built car, handles very well, shifts very well.
And honest to God, I can't really say too much more bad about it. The type of car that you can walk into a corner and you're not going to worry about going anywhere with. Just overall, you know, these cars, they're very, very hard to find. It's not like it's going to be like a super, you know, you're not going to hit up your local marketplace and find these for, you know, next to nothing or find $1. But, you know, I think if you're looking for something more than a TL, you don't want the MDX. You just want something that is a really, really nice car. It's going to hold value half decently. And, you know what you're getting with a Honda and Acura product. You know it's going to be reliable long term. You know it's going to hold resale value relatively well, you know. If you want something a little bit nicer than a TL to tour with and not something as large as an MDX, Acura RL, check it out.